The season 2 premiere starts off with Mark getting his ass handed to him by the Immortal. Eventually Omni-Man shows up and mollywops the Immortal. At this point it's a no-brainer when this dude shows up, you already know who's about to get a spanking. It turns out these two have taken over Earth, like father, like son. We then cut to a hideout and see this tomboy looking as Adam Eve. She's clearly a top and she's pissed off. Can't blame her since her world is being taken over and now she's real mad. Rightfully so. Invincible crashes the party and does to Eve what horny girls on Twitter are forever losing their shit about. He took the choking kink a little too far, cause he ends up breaking her neck. This went from being spicy to being borderline domestic violence. Guess even if you only have Viltra right, the lust for rage takes over inevitably, huh? We then cut to Invincible, the one we've been following all along. Turns out everything happening till this point was in an alternate dimension. At the Grayson household, Debbie turns off the TV cause all they seem to talk about is how Omni-Man basically molested the entire planet and ran off like he got caught by Chris Hansen in the act. Meanwhile at the state prison, our favorite twins are giving the security guard Peter a hard time. All he wants to do is feed them, but the boys are pretty picky with what they let slide down their gullet. No homo. Luckily for them, they get bailed out of jail by a man who can open dimensions, a man named Angstrong Levy. He basically tells them he needs their help, and if they refuse to cooperate, he'll leave them out for dead. Back at school, Invincible is too busy having a bad case of survivor's guilt. Amber tries to help him deal with it, but as was the case in season 1, Amber is pretty useless. She's always catering to someone else in the show. She's the poster child for one-dimensional characters. Sorry, but I don't make the rules. Anyway, so Angstrong is basically a pretentious dummy and the twins are asking way too many questions. They ask him what he really needs them for. Long story short, he claims that he wants to get knowledge from all dimensions and he'll use the information for good, blah blah blah, you've heard it all before. He even goes on about how he'll be able to cure cancer, but to me it sounds like a guy who's on the verge of spiraling. They tell him they're willing to help as long as he puts them on an Earth where the whole population thinks they're gods. Considering it's the twins, it's not such an outrageous request when you think about it. Cecil is at Guardians HQ shouting at the whole squad, telling them they're too sloppy. They basically can't function cohesively and they take way too long to do the job at hand. So he has no choice but to re-enlist the real top dog, the Immortal, to be the head honcho around this place. Rex being Rex, he doesn't like this. The Immortal on the other hand is just standing there unfazed. Like bruh, this man has been killed so many times, you really think pressing him is gonna do shit? He went to war with Omni-Man and handled his own. On top of this, there's also this black dude called Bulletproof who gets added to the crew. Nice. Now there's finally someone on this team who can say the N-word. Back to Invincible. He's being all soft in his feelings, trying to explain to Atom Eve that he's going through the motions. This man is really suffering, he's got the eye bags and everything. He must be tossing and turning in his sleep cause ain't no way a high schooler got wrinkles like this from taking AP maths classes, that's for sure. At the end of the episode, Mark finally gets some. By some I mean some action, not that kind of action you perverts, but the kind where he gets to slap up some people. He infiltrates Angstrong's place since he's been a bad boy. The whole joint explodes and boom, Levy turns into this thing. The good news is that Mark and his chocolate queen both get into the exact same college. The bad news is the Immortal confronts Mark to tell him he'll be watching him like a hawk. After he says this, you can just see Mark's smile turn upside down. Talk about a buzzkill. The episode begins with the trio at their high school graduation. Mark isn't there cause he's too busy spanking this bad boy. Eventually he makes it just in time to walk across the stage. We come to learn that his middle name is Sebastian. I don't even know why I mentioned that, it just stuck out to me. Sebastian. Some time passes and all of them are hanging out just kicking it. At the space agency, the top dog is busy asking the astronauts what should they do about the whole Martian situation. In case you forgot, in the first season, remember one of the aliens took over someone's mind and body and it turns out he's here in the room with them. Anyway, so Debbie's spending some quality time with her son and everything is alright until she brings up the fact that Cecil's people did a shoddy job at fixing their house, yet they're the ones that shot it up in the first place. And Mark's just there like, yo, don't talk about it bruh. Then Debbie comes to the realization that they are both still distraught over the entire ordeal, so they should go on vacation. Back at Guardians HQ, the Immortal is showing Rex who's the alpha in more ways than one. First he scolds him about not taking training seriously, then he comes out of the shower with his ex-bitch. And oh boy, trust me, Rex didn't like a taste of his own medicine, even though he cheated on Eve with Kate multiple times. In other news, the Martian dude from earlier got kicked to the curb by his employer, and now cause he's behind on the rent, his landlady is really about to kick him to the curb. But he doesn't seem to care. He's too busy watching TV while eating junk food and salivating over a fellow Martian who used to be a Guardian. Is this kinda zesty? Maybe. But maybe that's just how the Martians get down, you know. Mark ends up doing some errands for 𝗧𝗛𝗚. Debbie doesn't like this one bit, so she pays him a visit and gives him the legendary finger of death. Man, I swear all moms are the same. She's there waving that thing like, oh no 𝗧𝗛𝗚, leave my Marcus alone. Just as she's about to leave, she runs into Donald, even though we all saw this dude explode into oblivion during the first season. He's here, somehow. The Eve household is in shambles. Her old man has been working a minimum wage job, and instead of asking Eve for help, he's been slaving away flipping burgers like a hometown rapper still on the come up. She literally turns an apple into 24-karat gold right before his eyes to show him she is of some use, but he insists on doing honest work, whatever that means. Like bro, she can make you jewelry. How massive does your ego have to be in order to decline such an offer? Are you fucking kidding me? Later on, 𝗧𝗛𝗚 speed dials Mark and tells him he needs to go down to Atlantis to marry the now dead king's wife. Reason being is cause if Mark doesn't tie the knot with her, they'll basically rain havoc on Earth. This is all happening because Omni-Man put her husband 6 feet deep, and according to their customs, that means the next of kin has to seal the deal with the widow. And when we finally see her, she kinda looks like she's on steroids or something, like she enjoys pegging. But the queen says that tradition is outdated. Now they have to duel until someone bleeds to death. Debbie on the other hand is trying to sell the crib, but the people that come for a house tour don't really mess with it. Okay, I'm lying, it's just this one black dude who starts throwing a fit. He's just there like, no, it's not good. At the end of the episode, Debbie tries to drink her problems away, but even something as basic as that can't happen. That cabinet just won't close shut and she just stays slamming it before having a whole breakdown. She's just there standing on her knees letting out the waterworks. It's a sore sight to see, man. To make matters worse, Mark witnesses the whole thing. The weird Martian dude from earlier is trying so hard to fit in with the Guardians. Meanwhile, the Lizard League are throwing a pissy party that they were defeated. Sucks to be them, I guess. The episode begins with Debbie dropping Mark off at college. Shortly after this, she makes a phone call, because Olga came over to the crib one day and saw the distress she was in, so she slid her this business card and now she's using it. After Mark chooses his room with his friend, they set some house rules. One of them is that when there's a sock on the doorknob, it means someone's getting their back blown out, so nobody should come into the room and stop someone else from coming. Shortly after this though, Mark lays the pipe down on Amber. This episode has a narrator. He takes us to the planet of Europa, Alan's planet. Then we get a backstory of how the Viltrumites came one day and conquered everybody. Well, not everyone, since a few of them escaped and went to some outpost and decided to breed a warrior that can go toe to toe with the Viltrumite. That warrior they ended up with is Alan. Alan still gets his ass handed to him, so they collectively decided he isn't enough. Instead, he basically becomes a beacon of hope for this planet and goes around the universe looking for anyone who can give him a nasty beating. If they're up to par, he'll tell the Coalition. The Coalition is basically a group of people from various planets who hate Viltrumites and want to stop them. When we're first introduced to the leader of the Coalition, you might have been like, hey, yo, that voice sounds familiar. That's because it's Optimus Prime. Shout out to Peter Cullen. Anyways, Alan heads back home, but he has an intruder waiting for him. It turns out it's his girl who just wants to get her ass ate. On Earth, Mark's playing it safe. He's even got the rubbers on deck. After Alan blows her back out, they end up at this diner. She's a busybody, so she starts asking her mans over here what the leader of the Coalition, 𝗧𝗛𝗘, was asking him earlier. It turns out that there's a mole that's been leaking some info. But snack time is over for these two cause some Viltrumites come through and spank Alan for no good reason. On Earth, things are getting heated. Rex wants to train, but Kate is there and it's just a mess since, well, you know, she was doing bedroom tango with the Immortal. Now Rex is in his feelings. Then out of nowhere, the Martian dude shows up and says the weirdest shit ever. Like bra asks them if he can hop on the treadmill and run in a stationary position. It's a matter of time before this dude blows his own cover and reveals that he's not actually a human. Like, who says that shit? Debbie finally makes it to the location on the business card. Her and this dude start to hit it off, and for a moment I feel like this scene was an exact replica of the one in Euphoria where Rue interacts with Ali, or maybe I've just watched Euphoria way too much. Rudy and Monster Girl catch a movie before she feeds him the good old American meal of burgers and fries. Mark arrives back at his dorm room and lets out a big ass smile since he just got him some coochie. His roommate can smell the latex stench in him and is like, Amber finally did more than suck you off, huh? This friendly discussion gets cut short when a talking dog shows up to the door just to say he needs Mark Grayson. Turns out this talking dog is actually an alien from a planet that claims their population needs Invincible to save them. As this is happening, Debbie ruins her chance of having herself a Jason love, because for whatever reason she opts to tell him that her husband is Omni-Man, the same man who thrashed and killed this dude's wife. Well, now that's just awkward. She's left standing there with tears rolling down her eyes because this man activated that Black Air Force energy and told her to piss off. Invincible finally makes it to the planet that apparently needs saving, but when he arrives there he sees no other than his own father. This deadbeat is now the ruler of bug people. The fourth episode starts off with the continuation of what happened once Omni-Man finished violating his kid. It turns out that Omni-Man found a sense of purpose after saving these bugs from dying. He ends up on their world, and that's exactly how he ended up as king. They were like, oh, you did us a favor, please like control us, but don't be a dictator, you know, just give us some guidance. He tells Mark that he didn't actually lie to him this time around, the planet actually needs saving. He's saying the Viltrumites are on their way because they've learned that Omni-Man abandoned his post. But there's another problem. This man couldn't pleasure himself by his lonesome, so instead he decided to get this bug lady preggo. Surprise surprise, he's got another kid. Mark's shocked at this revelation, but considering all the horrible things Nolan's done, at this point I would have just been like, oh, here we go again. Things are looking rough for Debbie. She's on Earth moping around all cause of Nolan. Maybe the women who forever tweet that men are trash have a point after all. While she's busy pouting all over town, Dolan pulls up to the crib. He wants answers, cause the last time he saw her she looked at him with shock. Which makes sense cause we all saw this dude die. Our very own Atom Specialist is having a hard time, but what's even worse is the identity crisis Dolan is having. As in, this man is doing some serious snooping trying to find the footage of what happened when Omni-Man attacked them. He sees firsthand that he did indeed go kaboom. Is he real? Is he a clone? Is it a robot? Guess we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, Omni-Man feels bad because his people are dying like the bugs that they are. And eventually the Viltrumites show him that he's not as strong as he thinks he is. This one dude tells Mark he'll be spared because now he has to take Omni-Man's place and oversee Earth until it's time for the Empire to take over. And if he refuses, they'll kill him. And that's pretty much part 1 of season 2 explained.